So I've had a couple of odd dreams this week. And dreams are something that I pay attention to, but not in the way that you might think. So I am not into dream interpretation or anything like that because, frankly, I think there are so many different variables that it just doesn't make sense. However, I think that dreams, of course, because they are happening within the individual experience, they're happening within my system. So they are clearly part of my expression in one way or another. So as I see it, the dream body or dream time is a time when different sanskaras, different impressions are being played out just as we play out those tendencies. So sanskara is refers to the tendencies that we have. So the way that we walk, the way that we eat, the way that we reach for things, our automatic reactions, those are all tendencies. So in our waking state, we are playing out those tendencies. And I think the same thing is happening in our dream state. It's just a different part of the mechanism. So when I have odd dreams, it doesn't happen often, but I remember them when I do because they stand out. So this week I've had two, and they've referred to not exactly experiences from the past, but locations from the past. So there's something about my past experience that is being played out during my dream time. So one of them, I was in my childhood garden and there was this sort of open space. So it's very clearly my childhood garden, but it wasn't replaying an event from my childhood. It was just a movement through. And so there was this sort of grey space and it was open. There was an opening in the fence. And I'm sure that there are going to be people who can interpret different things out of that, and that's fine. But my response to it is that there is just something being worked out in my system. So, how I respond to dreams like this is that I notice them and I notice my response to them. So, it created not an anxiousness, but it wasn't pleasant feeling that it created. It's not something that I would want to go into, or it wasn't meaningful. So, and there certainly wasn't anything particularly uplifting about it. So I notice my response to it. I simply notice the feeling, the vibration, the kind of physicality, the physical response that I have to it. And by noticing and being with that feeling, guess what happens? The feeling evaporates. After a while, the feeling simply evaporates. And that actually releases the experience and my response to the experience. But this is where it gets really interesting because what then happens as a result of that is that creative energy is actually released. Isn't it interesting that when we allow ourselves to evaporate those dream experiences and simply allow them to be, simply allow the sanskara to move through without trying to make a story about it, without trying to make it go away, without trying to cling on to it, when we simply are allowing of it and allowing of one's response to it, the feeling evaporates, and what is released is Shakti, creative, potent power. And I can feel it in myself. I can tell you that this week, in the last few days, I have gone through a massive shift in my own power. I am feeling seated in myself in a new way, at a new level, and with a new vibrancy. I'm getting ready to travel. So for this week's adornment, I want to show you my little travel pouch. I carry this with me over, usually over one shoulder. That's why I like the strap. It's really convenient when you're at the airport. So all of the important documents, passport, etc., the little keys for my lock that goes onto the suitcase, everything fits neatly, comfortably into here. And I also picked this because of the colour. You can't miss it. It stands out. So it's very easy to see. It's really comfortable to hold and carry. And it's beautiful. I like the vibrant colour. I like the sunshine of it. I like the little detailing of the star. I think it's a handmade piece. I think it's actually a one-off, which I always like to get. I always like finding those one-off quirky handmade pieces. It's just a part of my style. And it's part of the Lipstick and Enlightenment approach to life. It's finding those special things, those special objects that then become part of your Akashic field. They become part of your vibration. So it's important that you love them, you enjoy them. This makes me smile every time I look at it. I've been thinking this week a lot about Lipstick and Enlightenment, about the brand, about the movement, about everything that we stand for. It's been many years now, the different strands of my work around empowerment, around fulfillment, around the blossoming of human potential to its fullest. That is what we stand for. So a few days ago, Sadhguru consecrated the Linga Bhairavi form in the Triple I Institute in Tennessee. And he spoke about it, this is on the Instagram page, he spoke about it as bringing a new wave of devotion into the Western Hemisphere. And he has always spoken of Linga Bhairavi as a very exuberant form of the feminine or the feminine. I really like the way he always says feminine. So the feminine at a cosmic and a global level, there is a new emergence. There is a new field emerging. And with Lipstick and Enlightenment, we are meeting that field. This is a field where the full human experience is honored and where it flourishes. From the spiritual all the way through to the absolutely dense, fleshy materiality of being here on the planet. Everything is included. So this week I've been thinking about my journey, the different strands of my work, and this theme remains central. This idea that we don't cut off any part of ourselves. We do not create internal divisions between that which we call material and that which we call spiritual. Because as I see it, that kind of division, that internal fracturing, is exactly what pulls us out of our power individually. And each human being, I've said this before, each of us is a complete cosmos in ourselves. So when we speak about Shakti, when we speak about that inner power, that inner capacity, when we speak about human potential, we can only access that when we are in a state of wholeness. And speaking of the Western Hemisphere or the Western world, it's not really a phrase I like because that in and of itself is a fracturing. But I understand that narrative. It's a dominant narrative. So let's go with that. There has been a very dominant narrative for many centuries whereby the material and the spiritual have been put into opposition with each other. They have been split apart from each other. The new field that is emerging, and in many ways it is re-emerging, is a field in which every aspect of the human experience is held as one. It is one spectrum. It is this beautiful symphony of different modes of expression: psychological, emotional, physical, energetic. But all of it is held as one, and all of it is honored fully. So, how do we do this? By relishing our experiences, in particular, relishing the body. And the reason I'm saying it's about relishing the body is that the spiritual is always present. Actually, that which we call spiritual is always present. It cannot be hived off. And it is most easily accessed through the body. It's most easily accessed through the body. This is something that I know for sure after many years of experience and experimentation and searching through different teachings and applying them in my own life. The truth of the spirit actually expresses itself most easily and most directly through the sensations of the body. So as soon as we relax more deeply into the density of the body and into the density of physical sensation, that is how we remove this internal fracturing and we bring ourselves into a state of wholeness, into a state of replete, complete oneness, fullness. There's this sense of plenitude and fullness. For my sadhana this week, I've been walking. Very simple, very easy, nothing grand about it, but incredibly grounding. Simply walking, going out into the open air, by the river, preferably into nature, and walking. There is a reason why Ayurveda recommends walking as a very standard activity, something we should all do on a daily basis. Whatever our structure is, whatever our dosha is, walking daily is a recommendation. And there's very good reason for that, because it's good for the skeleton. It brings symmetry into the body. It's a very simple, symmetrical action. So it brings symmetry into the skeleton. It releases the joints so that fluid starts to move again, especially if you are sitting in front of a computer all day. Whatever your work is, if you're sedentary a lot of the time, simply walking every day actually starts to rebalance, bring flow back into the body. And so it's recommended through Ayurveda because it's healthy for the body, but because it is also healthy for the mind, for the subtler aspects of the system. So I noticed that it actually rejuvenates the mind. It allows the mind to wander very openly, freely. So the whole canvas of the mind comes into your background awareness. When I'm walking, it's like the whole canvas of the mind just comes forward very, very gently in that open focus. And so often creative ideas come up at that time. I know that for me, very often I'm walking and boom, a creative idea will land, a new angle. I'll see something new that I hadn't seen before, or a question that I've been pondering for a long time, I'll suddenly get a new revelation about. In fact, yesterday when I was walking, it was interesting. I was very present to the path in front of me, the people around me, everything that was happening in my physical environment. And at the same time, I had a very powerful internal meditative experience. So, walking has become a very interesting sadhana for me, actually, because many things happen at a creative level, at a physical level. It's very nourishing. I enjoy it. At, I suppose, also a spiritual level, that very powerful meditative experience. It was energetic, it was internal, it was absolutely real, it was very clear. I remember it very clearly. And I won't ever forget it. It was one of those experiences that I know I will remember continually all the time. It's not going to fade in my memory. So, why is walking so powerful? It's this simple, easy thing that we do without having to put any attention on it. But I will say this, when I say walking as sadhana, you don't put your ear pods in. You are not on your phone scrolling. No, none of that. You are walking. You are simply being with yourself. This links back to this idea of not fracturing yourself. There is no fracturing internally. You are fully present, gently present, but fully present with your own system. Your feet on the ground, the sway of the body, the rhythm of your steps, that canvas of your mind that is now gently and easily present. Be with yourself. Walking also generates sattva. This is my experience. So, sattva, that easy, buoyant state of alertness, of clarity, but also absolutely stable. That's the quality of sattva. It is very stable and it has clarity and ease. For me, walking actually generates sattva in the system. So again, it's creative. It actually generates and regenerates our creative impulse.